It's nonsense.
But I'm just saying that is what tires your soul. That's what that music is, soul destroying music.
Hmm.
Why you think they called soul music back in the day?
Facts.
Because you were feeling it. You
Yeah.
fell in love with the music. How many
Hmm.
babies were born
Hmm.
listening to Barry White?
Yeah.
How many babies were born listening to Isaac Hayes, the
Hmm.
Delphonics?
Hmm.
That's when you were in love. We were talking love. We just love our women. We talk love to our women. Now we
Hmm.
want to call them bitches and hoes and the hoe. Now that's become part of our language. That's what
Yeah.
you are. You a bitch and a hoe. What the hell? Come on.
Doc going off, y'all. Doc going off because Doc is a musician. Y'all don't a lot. Some of y'all don't know Doc is a musician. So this this is close to his heart.
Yeah,
You know.
listen. Earth, Wind, and Fire's my friends. They're close. Drummer, the singer, the arranger. I knew Maurice White. I met him back in the day. Fell in love with their music. Listen to true music, and get back to that. Learn, pick up an instrument
Mm.
because that's what you call your spirit catcher. An instrument is a spirit catcher. When you play it, after the instrument resists you. It's the hardest thing to get. If you want to play bass, you got to toughen up your
Got it.
fingers
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
your hands got to get strong. And then
Yeah.
you got to work through it until it becomes, and all of a sudden, as soon as you free yourself from it, it begins to give you all the beautiful music you want.
Mm.
But it traps you first, it enslaves you, and then frees you. That's what you have to do. You have to catch a spirit catcher. And some of the ones who are the lyricists, I'm hearing some monstrous lyricists from the old rappers, man. It was so good to listen to hip hop from back in the days until I think Tupac went crazy, started talking all kind of nonsense, and it really hurt me. But when
Mm.
you start wanting to party back in the days, and one of my old guitar player friends, Nile Rodgers, he had a song called "Good Times."
Mm.
They sampled that bad boy and up in the Bronx and became super. Matter of fact, when they sampled Niles' music, that's when the big change took place, and they went to court
Mm.
and stated that since they weren't going to be taking black people playing music anymore, just the rappers, that they changed the laws of music in order for you to sample music because
Oh, okay.
before you couldn't
Mm. Mm.
because Niles and them went to court on Sugar Hill,
Mm.
and that's what changed everything.
Mm. Wow.
And they just destroyed music. And when I turned on the BET Awards, every oh God Almighty, I was I couldn't take it. It was hurting my heart, and I was saying I wanted to look at it because um, our niece, my the granddaughter,
Hmm.
was dancing with Lizzie,
Hmm.
and so we said we want to see her dance with Lizzie,
Hmm.
and she danced, saw her, and then after that, it turned into this thing. I was saying it again, and then all of a sudden, somebody was outside in the audience, and they said, "Time to listen to the baddest music ever played." This woman came out, started singing, and the guy came out, ho 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 ho, and she's singing to everything, and then he says, "Ho." I'm saying that's not the baddest music ever played by black people.
Oh man. Man, Doc on one tonight, y'all. Doc is
I'm
mad at the
I'm
state of
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. That was the one. My wife told me say something about that. But
Oh man.
I'm just hurt.
Uh,
I'm just hurt. Let's
don't
get back on the point,
yeah,
man.
don't let it make you that
It
mad.
does. I'm furious when I start looking at our brothers and sisters talking this nonsense. What pissed me off is that they flower it up. They talk the nastiest shit. Women slut themselves, and that's going to be free. That's you. You go, girl. No, that's nasty. And you're just training our young girls to be hoes. You've got Cardi B talking to the goddamn president. How the hell you have Cardi B as your representative? You done lost your mind.
Mm.
I'm
Hey,
sorry.
it's
Go
all
ahead.
good, Doc.
Yeah.
Um, since you mentioned Cardi B and nothing about her personally, but I just thought about children and women giving birth, and we hear all the talk about abortion right now, the Roe versus Wade. How do you think souls trying to come back into this realm? Well, how should we view abortion? Is it a good or a bad thing, or is this something that our ancient culture thought was bad for the souls trying to come back, or is this something that just has always been a part of our culture when we deal with abortion?
Women have always been aborting children.
Hmm.
They knew the secrets. They knew what time it was. They knew, say, rape, especially with rape. They didn't want a child. They had special herbs
Hmm.
that they would take. My grandmother was a doula. I used to see, the table that we had, a very small table, a very small hut that we lived in Trinidad.
Hmm.
And babies would be born on that table in the
Hmm.
day or the night, and then the next morning or the night, we were eating off the table. And that's what I came up under.
Hmm. Hmm.
But you have to look at the fact that the whole thing around Roe versus Wade was the follow up to Sanger, Margaret Sanger's genocide, campaign when she
Hmm.
went after the preachers and said that, well, the woman Norma McCorvey, she's flip flopping. This woman, Gloria Allred, who's like this staunch feminist, was the one that was actually coaching her during that whole trial.
Hmm.
Then she came back and said, well, the people who are the pro lifers paid me to shift and say, come back and be a Christian and say, I really didn't do that. We know that she had nothing to do with it. She didn't care one way or another if you wanted to abort your child.
Hmm.
But then, of course, Margaret Sanger, and I got a little thing here. Margaret Sanger said in this publication she had called Birth Control Review, she said birth control and racial betterment. This was what the name of it. This was written back in, I think, 1919.
Hmm.
And she said birth control will clear the way for eugenics and the elimination of the unfit. Now, remember, we, the underclass, are the unfit. According to her, black sterilization was actually for the upkeep of society. She argued for keeping the birth rates of blacks down to 15 babies per thousand.
Hmm.
15 babies per thousand. She wanted a population congress to be created so that she could set up a system to eliminate illiterate, paupers, unemployables, criminals, prostitutes, dope fiends, and that there would be camps set up where they would be gathered up after taking tests, and they would be put out on these farms to work for cheap labor. This is all was all structured. And the other part of it was, as a result, you figure that the census that was taken in 1960 showed that there was 18,871,831 black folks in this country at this time that was taken in the census. Now, since the legalization of abortion in 1973, an estimated 20 to 23 million black babies were aborted as of 2020.
Hmm.
Now that's more than was that than black folks were in numbers here in the country by 1960. So the thing is, we say that, or we found out that at least 79%, I think it's 79 to 80% of all the abortion clinics are within walking distance of black and Latino communities. Walking distance.
Hmm.
They have sometimes three or four in the neighborhood.
Hmm.
Now, a lot of sisters will say, well, you coming down on it. What about rape? What about incest? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about carelessness. I'm talking about not dealing with responsibility. Women have at least 8 or 9 ways that they can do that. Men have one. The one they want is you can snip or cut, or you can put on a glove.
Mhm.
But now they want to make sure that you snip, or that again they're trying to get a pill where they will definitely kill your sperm.
Mhm.
So I'm looking at the fact that Roe versus Wade was actually the trial was based upon whether or not it was constitutionally legal. Or no, constitution means law. Whether it was constitutionally lawful for a
Mhm.
woman to have an abortion paid for by the state.
Mhm.
Now they would say that okay, black folks are essentially more prolific when it comes to that birthing. Well, they had to get rid of that. How did they do that? They got rid of it by getting rid of the family. And when you get rid of the family structure, where the man is the head of the household, you teach the boy how to be a man, so he become prolific enough to be able to take care of a family, to create a family, because men create families, not women. And you see that women are essentially now dealing with what I call survival units. You call it single parent families. There's no
Mhm.
such thing as a single parent family. That's an oxymoron. The family is the man, the woman, and the child. That's a family. You could say that there's an extended family where people are, a certain way with each other, supportive of one another, but the core family, the structure, is the man, the woman, and the child. Just like they're destroying the idea of what a gender is, what a woman is. Could you imagine? They couldn't tell you what a woman is. That's how sick we've become. And the politicians don't even want to answer that question.
Mhm.
You go and ask anybody in the street, what's a woman? Um, I don't know. Or, well, there are many different, anybody could be a woman, what? That's where we're at right now. They
Mhm.
can do that to people or to generations who have not been given the proper education to understand who and what they are as individuals. You can always tell somebody who don't know shit from shinola when it comes to the truth and the reality and what it is that the ancestors gave us, what it is that reality is versus truth and so forth. And you could sell them a bill of goods.
Mhm.
And that's what they're doing in the schools. That's why men are dropping out of schools. And women are all in the schools now because they're all the ones getting a PhD and all these things. And they still working at McDonald's. Women are going all into finance, and now I'm going into business for myself and all that. This everything you see happening today is based on dysfunction. If our women is out there working, what are our children doing? They're being given over to the government to take care of. Do they give a damn about them? No. In fact, they let them get shot and killed while the police stand outside. They don't care about your children. That's why I said from what 10, 20 years ago, take your children out of public school. You heard me say that constantly. That's
Mhm.
why we set up the ISM. We got to be able to teach you the true culture that we left. Jazz, what we call rock, that was our music that white boys took.
Mhm.
They stole that. We had so-called classical music. They took the black people that was the originators of it, especially when it came down to the so-called chamber music. That was made by Chevalier. He was the one who mentored Mozart. Was a brother, and he was the number one swordsman. He was the Michael Jordan of swordsmanship,
Mhm.
and he was the consort of Marie Antoinette, and the head of the palace guard. He was a true Renaissance man. But you hear,
What was this brother's name?
I believe it's Duchavier. You all know what I'm talking about. I'll get the name for you, and it's in my book too. Oh, It'll come to me and I'll send it to you. You can go ahead and tell them, say Dr. Valentine gave me the name, and I'll get you the name. And if you
Definitely.
look at the old pictures of Beethoven,
Uh-huh.
he nappy headed.
Yeah.
And that's a picture of him in the British Museum that you don't see. It's going to be in my new book, Cosmic Codex. But anyway, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be ranting off, but
No, I love it. Your passion. I love what you. We love it. We just love it. Oh, by the way, let
there,
me
whoa,
take.
whoa, 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 whoa. There it is.
J-
Chevalier de Saint Georges. Thank you. Thank you, my
That's his name.
brother.
Yeah.
Yes, Joseph
They they
Boulogne.
they
See,
sharp in the chat.
I love it. I love these people. I love the brothers and sisters who come in here. See,
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
a serious following, brother.
This a different kind of chat room. This a
Hmm.
different kind of channel.
I'm
They
loving it.
sharp.
I'm loving it. You know, this is my old. Some of the gray cells are not working. I have to get it back in order. But
Yeah.
yes, he was a Renaissance man and was responsible for giving Mozart one of his first jobs.
Mm,
And he was the one because back in those days there were big orchestras that played for the kings.
mm,
He was the one who took and made the cello, the viola, the violin, and the piano a thing, a concert piece.
mm,
Was never done. It was him. And then when Napoleon took over France, he burned all of his writing, all of his music. Only a little bit of his music is left
mm,
because Napoleon hated what happened to them with the Napoleon and all the rest of them hated what happened to him in Haiti.
mm,
So when this black man who had this huge standing with statues of him
mm.
and all of his accomplishments, the first thing Napoleon did was to burn down and destroy his works. So you never heard about him, but you're gonna hear about him when you get my book.
Mm. Definitely. So Mozart wasn't a brother.
No, I believe that Mozart was a mix. He
Okay.
was. They said he was a brother, but I don't believe he was a brother.
Hmm.
I know there was a lot of brothers, a lot of mixing. The first Germans were black. In
Hmm.
fact, Benjamin Franklin said that when they were all migrating into Philadelphia, he wanted to put a stop to the migration of the Germans because he said that would blacken the population.
Hmm. Mm, mm,
Matter of fact, the German army at that time was the horsemen. Matter of fact, that's who uh, Beethoven, or the beekeeper, that's what he called him, Beethoven.
hmm.
Beethoven's mother was a Moor, father was a Moor, I believe, and he was one of the German soldiers that had a tryst with Beethoven's mother.
Mm. Wow.
Mhm. He was the brother.
Wow. Some
But you
deep
never hear
history.
about that. See, you don't know about that. See, that's if these young brothers and sisters who are out there, following along a track, hip hop has is one of the longest running genres and
Yeah.
has not changed.
Mm.
Our music shifts
Hmm.
as the consciousness shifts.
Yeah.
Our consciousness has gone downhill ever since because those who control us are the ones who are sitting in other countries, starting with I, and the ones who are there making sure that the music that they shoved back into the church never comes back out into the public again.
Mm.
Because when you want to hear some serious throwdown music, soul music, you got to go back into that institution that has enslaved this part of your mind.
Hmm.
The music used to free your heart and your mind. Ain't no stopping us now.
Hmm.
Where's that music? We don't have it. We're too busy being belligerent. We're too busy being fighting. We become warriors, yes, but against ourselves.
Hmm.
We're fighting each other. What are we talking about? I mean, again, it's pathetic what I saw, and it really hurt my heart when I thought that that's the best we could do in music.
Mm,
No,
mm,
no, that's not the best we could do in music.
mm.
Anyway,
Wow. No, definitely. I'm glad you touched on that. There was a question earlier. Actually, I want to bring back around and ask you. Somebody wanted to know in terms of we was talking about the soul, and somebody asked, "Are birthmarks signs of your past life or something like?"
ah, that's funny.
Yeah,
It's
talk.
interesting. Now, most people don't know this. I'm telling you, but
Mm,
right on my hip, right here,
mm-hmm,
I showed it to my wife. I have a distinct birthmark of Africa,
mm. Wow.
even with Mauritania on the side.
Whew.
And and I couldn't believe it. And when I saw it, when they saw it, they said, "What?" I mean, it looks exactly like it. I didn't know
Wow.
where it come from. I had no idea where that came from. I know I
Mm,
was raised in a village that was pretty much African, and I was it never really dawned on me as a birthmark until I grew and began to see what it was. And I'm saying that looks, and then I reversed it, and it was. But the birthmark essentially is usually could be a wound. It could be the consolidation of iron, residual iron during the time of the birth cycle.
mm-hmm,
And usually in the blood, the mother, when she has certain types of feelings, goes through certain emotions or certain things, she's tagging the baby with that experience. And sometimes her experiences, emotional or otherwise, even with joy, comes out as a quote birthmark. Now,
mm-hmm,
I want you to see this.
mm-hmm,
See that?
mm-hmm.
I want you to take a look at this from now on all of the people that you see as people who are dignitaries. And I'm
Mm,
not blowing bubbles. Look at the movie stars,
mhm,
look at the musicians,
mhm,
look at the people who are politicians, and
mhm.
so forth. And I didn't know this until it was a reader that told me, look at this. He says, you see this you have there on the other? Where do you get that mole? And I said, I don't know. I've always had it. It grew actually after you could see it when I was young. It wasn't there. It started coming out and it became prominent. But look to people like Robert De Niro. Look to people like the brother who played the brother from another planet. Look to all these people who are doing certain things in the world, and you'll see they're tagged. Women too.
Wow. Wow.
I know that everybody said, "Well, look at Valentine you getting his rose." No, it's just something I noticed.
Mhm,
You look at people. I'm saying, what is that? Why is? And I used to say that to my mom, and my wife would say, there's that man, that mole again,
mm,
and it's either on the right or the left.
mhm. Wow. Let me ask you this, Doc. What do you think about, since we're talking about souls, what do you think about the idea of soulmates or twin flames? What
Oh
exactly is
yeah,
that?
yeah, that's real. That's so real. It is. People who have an attraction for one another, they leave an indelible mark, and the scent, the sight, the touch, the sound,
Mhm,
the feeling, especially if it's sex as well.
mhm,
You know if that person is your soulmate, and people say there ain't no such thing. Yes, there is. If there's someone who is for you and is searching for you and have found you, they can't be with anybody else. That's
mm,
like certain animals that mate for life
mhm,
because that they understand in their own consciousness, of course, birds, whatever it is, they mate for life because they understand that that's the one. And some people come back as animals. Some people, they say, come back as trees. And in some of the Hindu religion, you come back as a tree because you took so much from life. Now you want to give back to life.
mm.
What does a tree do? A tree helps to keep the atmosphere breathable.
Right.
So some people are actually within trees themselves, which is why in certain cultures it was a sin to start chopping down trees.
Wow.
You see, because of what a tree really is. The tree is the are the lungs. of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
You see, you used to breathe carbon dioxide before because you had green skin and golden blood. That was
Mm-hmm.
one of the transitional processes to where you now fell, and where your body was, your blood was based in gold. Now it's lower and based in iron now,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of the lower register elements on the planet, which is what true alchemy is. The changing of the lead into gold is the changing of the blood resonance consciousness in Solomon's song. You read Solomon's song in the Bible, that's all about the blood.
Mm-hmm.
And if you change your thinking process and you are able to reinvest or to reinstigate or to replant or implant or resuscitate the magnesium molecule in your blood, then you'll find that you're able to even process carbon dioxide that you breathe out the way a plant would.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no, and everything I'm saying, of course, is, straight up occult. People think it's crazy because science, which you call science, ain't real science. That's to keep the people docile.
Mm-hmm.
Einstein's theory of relativity is bullshit.
Mm.
It's bullshit. It's meant to keep you thinking a certain way while those who understand the truth are advancing in leaps and bounds because they're keeping the cattle thinking along a certain paradigmal structure of thinking.
So you don't mess with the E equals MC squared, or
No,
you know
no. I'm dealing with GIJ comma J equals zero, which
that's
is,
the gat
yeah, Gagut.
gagu, yeah.
Why? Because it made sense, especially in the with a metaphysical mind. You
Uh-huh.
have to understand that everything comes back to zero. And this is what it is that Einstein was searching for 30 years. Dr. Oyibo gave it to him mathematically.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't deal with mathematics when it comes to reality because mathematics, if you look at the mathematics board when they're trying to tell you what reality is, it's a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of bullshit. All these
Mm.
little figures to tell you this. All you got to do is what? Be still and know I am.
Yo, Doc, what's up with Doc tonight, y'all? Doc got some fire to him tonight. Yo, Doc got some fire. Man, what happened? Hold on, let me take a break because we got 3,000. Doc, yo, Doc got some fire tonight. Let me share this flyer real quick, Doc. Hold on,
Tell you
man.
right.
I don't know what got into you. You got some fire with you tonight, man.
I think it was the BET Awards that got me.
Yeah, I think it made you that mad. It made you that mad. Family, we are Doc is having a rebroadcast of his webinar that he recently had. It's called Metaphysical Awakening of the Melanated Mind. And the rebroadcast will be on July 17th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. I just shared the link in the chat where you could go to that link to the address to the web address to sign up. But as you seen earlier, there's certain things that Doc can't really touch on the YouTube platform that he touches on in depth on at his webinars.
Yeah.
So family, if you want to, and I advise you to sign up for this if you didn't sign up for the first one, because Doc goes in for about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours. All right, family. So make sure you'll sign up to that webinar and show support to the brother Dr. Valentine. Anything you want to add on to that, Doc, before we continue?
Well, what I wanted to tell everyone, please remember that we are not the ones that are actually making the links for you to enter. Please make sure that you look into all the caches of your email because it's going to be sent to the email that you give to them when you sign up and you make your payment. All right. And if there are any problems, please let us know. But sometimes I can't tell you while I'm on the air. I can't fix it. Sometimes we do have some people, the people who we have that are working in our admin, they have, they try to stay on board to make sure that everyone is in and is satisfied. But a lot of people don't know how to even use the internet properly. They don't understand how to use the internet. And please, if you're in, please be sure that you do not raise your hand. I am not going to speak to you. Please stop raising your hand. We don't know how to shut it down, but when you raise your hand, you shut off a lot of what it is I need to read to you all. I
Hmm.
understand that you all are passionate and you want to get into it. Maybe one day, Brother Rich and I would sponsor a question and answer from the people, so we could do just an online chat to answer certain questions. But as it stands, I have to put this information down as succinctly as possible, and I can't be interrupted to answer questions. That other thing, too, beloved, I wanted to talk about the Novatech. And for those of you, listen, Novatech is put together by black folks. Okay, this is a platform by black folks. And you'll see it too. It's going to be connected to something called FTX. Okay, FTX. Everybody knows about me talking about XRP, XLM, XDC, Quant, and the rest of these. That's what I have. I mean, this is no advice, no legal advice, no commercial or whatever advice. It's just I'm telling you what I'm doing. But for you to make, say, for instance, you want to make 3 to 5% every week, which is what I did, and I can tell you I did. I put in some monies, and every week I can convert that monies and then roll it back over again for the next week. You tell me what bank account you have right now that gives you 3 to 5% interest above every week, and especially since the dollar's getting ready to crash. You got to look into Novatech, and I can give you the brother's number. Just tell him that I sent you. His name is Reggie Jose. Just Reggie is good. His number is 415, listen carefully, 756 5676. Once again, 415 756 5676. You got to remember now, there's going to be a whole lot of big name people, even people in the rap community, all the older old heads in the so-called rap community, hip hop community, are getting on board now. And if you can get a group of people together to get into Novatech family, Reggie will drive to your state to sign you up.
Mm.
And he'll give you a lesson in what these black folks are doing. This black woman used to work on Wall Street. In fact, she got $10 million from some superstar actor who saw what she was doing, gave her the 10 million to get the platform going, and now she's kicking ass and taking names.
Wow.
So if you want to appreciate, because remember, I told you that the dollar is going to tank. It's got to tank. Why? Because the old system has been hoarding money, trillions of dollars, to keep this SWIFT system going. But the new XRP system, the new cryptocurrency system, is freeing up that liquidity so that all the money that all of the banks were holding on to that belong to other countries are all going to come back to them. And that's when all of your tokens rise. And that's when all of your monies are going to rise. I say get into gold and silver.